Hi everybody, this is Bastian, and today we're annotating a game played between ngghjo, a player rated 1200, and his opponent was Edward Tarte, rated 1300. So white plays e4, e6. So now we're seeing the start of the French defense. So normal development would have been d4, but d5 was played, and this is called the Steinitz attack, which is not seen much nowadays. Now, if play would have continued with d5, if black would have continued with his idea of the French defense, white could have played d4, and after c5, c3, knight c6, knight f3, we see the standard advanced variation of the French defense. However, this wasn't played. Black plays g6 instead, and the idea of playing g6 is to differentiate with the bishop to g7, immediately attacking the overextended pawn on e5. But it's a poor development idea, because after the logical d4, we can see the diagonal of the g7 bishop becoming blunted. So bishop to g7, knight f3, adding extra defense to the pawns. The bishop's useless really at the moment at g7. So knight e7 can't develop to f6, getting ready to castle. And now white has to develop his bishop as well, because white wants to castle, and white develops to d3. If you take a look at the diagonal, we can't develop to b5 because it gets kicked away immediately. Can't develop to c4 because the diagonal is blunted by the two pawns. But at d3, which is probably best, we can see the diagonal blunted by these two pawns. So black develops the bishop to d3 in order to castle, but right now there's no solid attacking plan for the bishop, and ngghjo will try to solve this problem with a demolition sack. Play continues with castling, and then knight to g5. So white is eyeing both pawns for defending the g6 pawn. Now if black plays normally and continues to develop in the center, say with d6, and then say take, two attackers on the d4 pawn, c3 in order to defend, and e5, we can see black untangling his pieces and getting the better position. So the knight to g5 should be ignored for the moment. However, black plays f6, immediately attacking the knight. After takes, we can see black has lost one defender of the g6 pawn, but it still has two defenders, the knight on e7 and the knight on the pawn on h7. So white removes another defender with a demolition sack. Knight takes pawn on h7, which is completely unsound, but black has to play carefully. So king takes, and now probably best for white would be either c3 in order to defend the c4 pawn for the defensive player, or queen to h5 check. And of course black can't recapture because of the pin with the bishop. And then after king g8, takes, queen takes check, bishop blocks, bishop h6. White does have a strong attack, although black still is better. Or after queen h5 check, the king can go to g7 instead of g8, but results the same. Check, take, check, and bishop to h6. But this wasn't played. ngghjo tries a different approach and plays h4 in order to attack black's position. So king goes to g7, white advances the pawn, rook to h8, and queen to g4. Now probably best at this point is to continue to advance the pawn with h6 check, which wasn't played. Queen goes to g4, which is slightly worse. And now black plays queen e8 in order to protect the g6 pawn, which has 3 attackers for the moment. So we can see white's attacking idea. If black plays something like a6, we get take, take, queen takes check, and white is much better. So queen e8 was played. Knight to d2, d6, opening up a diagonal for the bishop, and h6. And at this point h6 is a poor choice, because now black has 2 attackers on the pawn and only 1 defender. And by developing the knight, ngghjo has blocked his bishop on c1, and it's no longer able to protect the pawn. So knight e4 at this point would have been best, attacking the bishop and freeing up the diagonal, so white can advance the h pawn. But this wasn't played. h6. So black gratefully takes the pawn, and pieces get exchanged. So white is down his h pawn. Knight e4 check, which is the right idea, but sadly too late now. Attacking the bishop. King g7 protecting. Knight takes, king takes, bishop g5 check, and king to g7, and white should probably castle now and get another piece into the attack. But bishop takes, knight was played, queen takes, and queen takes check. Now I understand why ngghjo did this, because he's winning a pawn and stripping the defense of black's king. However, he has lost a piece in the attack, and probably this shouldn't have been played. Castling would have been better. So king f8, and now white castles. Right idea, but it should have been played earlier. And now queen to f7, which is a poor choice, because queen to g7 attempts to trade queens, and now white can't move his queen in order to check the king. Queen f7 allows a check on h6, which will secure a draw eventually. So queen h6 was played, queen to g7, and now best would have been queen f4 check to secure the draw, because white is still losing at this point. But queen h4 was played. Knight to c6, rook h1, which is all good, but at this point black's best moves are either e5 in order to develop the bishop and then the rook, or even king to e8, retreating the king. However, knight to e7 was played, and this is the losing move for black, because it allows white to come back with a check on f4. And although engines still think this is a draw, actually white has a winning attack. So queen f4 check was played. And now black's best continuation is knight. Well, knight to f5 can't be played because of g4, losing a piece. But after king e8, white can play rook to h7, and the queen is almost trapped. Only 3 squares left. and black will need his queen in order to protect the king. So if queen f8, we can get queen h4, threatening to capture the queen with rook h8, and after king d8, rook h8, attacking the queen, only 2 squares for the queen. So queen f7, queen h7, queen f8, and at this point white has a draw, but white also has a winning attack after let's say rook h8. It's a three-fold repetition draw, but after d5, white will remove the e-pawn, from the e-file, either to a d5 or either capture the pawn, and white can promote the ever g-pawns. So if e5, we can get bishop f5 with a check and a double attack on the knight that is pinned, which is devastating for black. So e5 can be played in order to cover f4, and after pawn takes pawn, white can advance his pawns with f4, and after careful play, white will promote and win the game. So knight d7, check, and queen f7 was played. White doesn't exchange, and he shouldn't. So rook h8 check, knight g8, and queen h4. Now black's best bet is bishop to d7 in order to guard the d8 square, which wasn't played. e5 was played, allowing queen d8 check, and then there are 2 options only, either queen e8, which will lose after rook takes, check, king takes, and queen takes, or king g7, which was played, leading to rook h7 checkmate. So that was the annotation of the game. I hope you liked it. There were some solid attacking ideas. The timing was a bit off with some attacks, but it had some great potential. Thanks for watching, and please leave a comment and have a great evening.